Welcome to Action Callers. You're on the right station if you're tired of just hearing complaints without a commitment to find a solution. Today, our community changemakers are Dr. Frank Long, who volunteered in far-off exotic places to mend bodies and souls. Our second guest is Shannon, a recent returnee from the Peace Corps. Our format for Action Callers is that you can call if you disagree with our guest on their topic, or you can call to change the topic altogether if you have an issue that you find yourself complaining about to everyone around you. Our Changemaker guests are also here to support you in your concern about your community. So if you're willing to be coached by our community changemakers and turn your complaints into a solution, give us a call at 916-456-5199. Again, 916-456-5199. Get in early on the show. I am your host and action coach, Dr. Reva Camiel, a psychotherapist in private practice in Sacramento. And I'm very excited today to bring you Dr. Frank Long and Shannon Thomas. We are so fortunate to have these two compassionate people who have worked to develop programs to support people from faraway places. For those of you who are with us for the first time, Action Callers is committed to bringing change makers, people who have seen problems to be solved in our communities and have taken action to alleviate those problems. And our community can be anywhere in the world. This is almost getting to be a one world. So these change makers come on this program to coach others to take a step to make an impact on issues that bother them. Please share your concern, complaint, or idea with me and the change makers on this show. You will find you are not alone. There's a lot of support out there. Other listeners will be listening to you, and they can call in and find out how to get in touch with you and maybe help you. We will support you in taking your first step in turning your complaint into an action that might impact the problem. I urge you now to call right now and share your ideas and concern with our today's change makers, Dr. Frank Long and Shannon Thomas from the Peace Corps. Get out your pencils and paper to jot down the phone number and the people who are helpful to you and your concerns. Call us at 916-456-5199 and let us support you. We may be talking about volunteer in faraway places today with our change makers, but you can call in with whatever issue you are concerned with, and we will change the topic right away to work with you to take your complaint to an idea to a possible result. Again, call us at 916-456-5199. So Dr. Frank Long, can I call you Dr. Frank?
Certainly.
Okay. So would you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you began to want to help people whose cultures are so different than yours?
Well, I've wondered that myself. I've been thinking about that, and when I think back, I honestly thought I would never go into medicine. It was one of those things where my dad was a doctor, and you know how kids are, you rebel against that, don't want to follow exactly behind, you want to be your own person. But as I went through college and started to study chemistry, I found that chemists were probably the most boring people that I'd ever worked with in my life. And so I wanted to work directly with people and not just in a lab. And as that went along, I had more and more friends who had traveled, and then I had the fortunate opportunity to transfer to the University of San Francisco, which 25% of the population of students were from foreign countries. And my roommate was from Costa Rica at that time. He invited me to come down to Costa Rica on his summer break, and there's where I truly fell in love with the tropics and with the people. I'm kind of on that kind of time anyhow.
Manana time?
Manana time, yeah. And so...
how'd you get through med school with the manana time?
I don't know that either. No, I generally show up on time when I have to, but if I don't have to, it's...
Yeah, you got here tonight.
Got here on time.
And I thank you for that.
But through that experience in Costa Rica for a month with his family and traveling all different parts of Costa Rica, I wanted to learn more Spanish, which I did. And then...
what year was that? When did you go down there?
That was in 1987, right when Oscar Arias had the presidents of Central America sign the peace treaty.
Yeah, did he get a Nobel Prize?
He certainly did,
Uh-huh.
and that's what put Costa Rica on the map. And then when I went back 2 years later and spent 2.5 months there working in a Nicaraguan refugee camp during the Nicaraguan War, there were Americans everywhere. First time I went, everyone was staring at me everywhere I went because I was the only American. And I was there with a friend, and so he was introducing me and translating for me and doing everything. And the second time I went, I was by myself and having to translate myself, and that's when I was forced to learn Spanish and even started dreaming in Spanish.
How long did you stay there that first time?
First time was a month. The second time was 2.5 months in 1989. And huge changes happened just in those 2 years. A lot of roads were put into rural areas, places, little town that we had gone to up near the border, actually near where I went for the refugee camp work. Originally, half the people or more were on horseback, and it was just dirt roads. Second time I went back 2 years later, it was cars, no horses anywhere, and everything was paved. And
That's fantastic, the
Yeah.
change that took place.
Huge
But let's
changes.
get back to that after I introduce Shannon to our listeners. This is Shannon Thomas, who probably is in culture shock now. She recently got back from she'll tell you where, from a faraway place that many of us probably don't even know where it is anymore.
I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Lithuania, which is a post-communist country right next to Russia, the Baltic Sea, and Poland.
Uh-huh. Very good. So how did you happen to go there? What was did you get to choose that, or when you joined the Peace Corps they said we need you there, or what?
Generally, when you join the Peace Corps, you have to be willing to go anywhere in the world, which I was, but I was interested in going to Eastern Europe
Mm-hmm.
because I'd done a lot of studying about communism, and I was very interested in living in a country that had recently was post-communist.
Yeah. So where did you learn so much about communism in the in those areas? You have parents from that area? Or?
No, it just came through. When I was in college, I took a study abroad program, and I was over in Europe for about 5 months. And when I was over there, we had learned a lot about the World War II, and then Russia coming in and taking over all of Eastern Europe, and the whole fact that the United States was not allowed and Americans were not allowed into these countries was fascinating to me. And now that we were able to go in there,
You wanted to be there.
yes,
Yeah.
and I was there.
Very good. And so what do you think was your motivation? What kind of got you going to think you wanted to, like, what is it, like a 2-year stint?
Yes, the Peace Corps, you have to volunteer for 2 years, and there's a 3-month training period.
And where's that? And is that like a boot camp or
The-
something?
3-month training period, no. You're in Lithuania, or the country where you choose to serve if you are accepted to the Peace Corps. And you have 3 months in that country learning the language, learning about the culture, learning health problems that could happen while you're in the Peace Corps. And it's 6 days a week, and the 7th day is cultural. And you also live with a host family
Mm-hmm.
where you're learning the language, and you're just forced to learn the language because my host family spoke no English, and I had never heard Lithuanian before in my life before the day I walked into Lithuania.
Mm-hmm.
And so I learned the language, and my motivation to go into the Peace Corps just comes from, at a young age, my parents taught me how important it is to volunteer and give back to your community.
Hmm.
And also we traveled. My family has traveled all over the world, so
Mhm. Well, was your
I love
father
to
in the
travel.
service or something like that? Or?
no, he's a construction engineer
Uh-huh.
and
Mhm.
gets to travel. Lucky him.
Mm-hmm. So you really like that?
Yeah, I really love it, and I want to continue on with doing international volunteer work.
Okay. So maybe Dr. Frank, you could talk to us a little bit about what you do when you go down to South America now, or down to Central America. And give us a call at 916-456-5199. We do want to hear from you, so let those bells ring.
Well, my first experiences were with medical work was when I was in medical school. I found trying to volunteer during college was very difficult because no one really wants to accept you if you don't have any skill in the first place. And that was a very difficult thing to try to pawn myself off and say, hey, let me tag along. But
Mhm.
then during medical school, there was much more interest in me. But now, since I've done the volunteer work, especially in Ecuador and Guatemala and Costa Rica, a lot of the people I was working with were people that had never gone before. And especially in Costa Rica, I worked with the Rotary Club International from Paradise, California. And most of the people were non-medical people and had no experience, didn't even speak Spanish. And they were a tremendous help. They kept everything going. They kept the clinic running. They kept things going smoothly. Just keeping things organized, and putting information into computer and getting the patients ready, and making sure that the medications were stocked up in the pharmaceutical area that we had. And so we were seeing up to 70 patients a day in Costa Rica, and I
Wow.
wasn't even tired at the end of the day because things kept so well run and organized.
Mm-hmm.
And lack of paperwork is a wonderful thing when you're in the medical profession. I imagine like any profession nowadays.
Yeah, when we were talked earlier on the, I think on the phone when I first met you on the phone, you mentioned about HMOs and things like that. And is that one of the things you like about working in a foreign country?
Definitely. I don't have to get approval from an accountant somewhere who doesn't have a face or a name and won't give it out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, it's definitely very rewarding. You find that people are generally much more appreciative because otherwise they wouldn't even have the care.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in Costa Rica where we were, it was a little farm that was set up especially for international volunteers coming into that area to work with the Bribri and
The who?
the Bribri
Bribri?
and the Caveca Indians.
Quebeca?
Yeah, they're right near the Panamanian border, actually, right next to the Sixola River that separates Panama from Costa Rica
Okay,
on the Caribbean side.
So what type of culture are the BBs and the Chichi? I can't even say it yet.
They have been isolated from the rest of Costa Rica, more part of the flora and fauna considered by the government, and they had no rights to medical care or social security numbers or anything else because they were so close to the Panamanian border that the Costa Ricans said, well, they don't belong to us, and the Panamanians said, well, they don't belong to us either.
Whoa.
So they really had nothing available. A clinic was built before we got there, but it was never manned. And the doctor who was sent to go there, who was supposed to show up at least twice a month, showed up every 6 months. And so
Wow.
they didn't know the days he came anyway, so it wouldn't matter when he was there. Oh, there's no one out here sick because they're not coming to the clinic. Well, they didn't know he was coming. So part of what we were doing was showing there was a tremendous need, and the documentation that we had of all the patients we were seeing showed that, and they did eventually put in a permanent physician to that area.
Yeah. So what is the life of the person of these? Are they tribes? Would you call them?
They're tribes. They have two distinct languages. How do I say it? More of a rural, not what you would consider jungle-dwelling Indians like I worked with in the Amazon with the Yanomama. Very much in tune with the culture around, and a couple of TVs in the village and radios and things like that. Very much separate though from the Latino culture, and in language and in priorities, and not much of a materialistic attitude. A lot of that has changed since the roads have gone through and they're wanting to lumber that area, and people are getting more interested in money and selling off their lands and, selling off their forests, basically. And so there are volunteer people working specifically with the Bribri and the Caveca to help keep that from happening, but I don't know that they've been that successful since so much pirating goes on.
So they want to join what we have in this culture is the money, money, more, more, more culture?
Right, until they find out that there's nothing to that and want to go back, and then there won't be anything there.
So there's nothing about the forestry and ecology and stuff like that? Any laws about taking down the forest?
There's laws.
Or stuff? But nobody's
No
following?
teeth, but there are laws.
Uh-huh.
And unfortunately, Costa Rica has shown itself to be an ecological community in the international realm, so that there's not much international surveillance in that sense. And they are better than most other countries, definitely. But there's definitely a lot of lumbering going on, huge trees being pulled out of there daily in these big lumbering trucks that we saw. And just, raping the forest, basically. And the last vestiges, basically, in Costa Rica that aren't in a reserve. So that's the main interest in those people that the government has.
Great. In a little bit, I'd like to get to the Amazonians. I've always been very interested in tribes in the Amazon, but I'd like to have Shannon tell us a little bit about what it was like being in a culture that was shifting over from one economy to another, similar to what you were, a different economy, a different way of thinking. Think they're going to make it?
I think overall, Lithuanians and the whole Eastern Europe will succeed. It's just trying to get used to a whole new system. And I think the younger generation is really open to the idea. They support the idea. They're working hard. It's just the older generation, all of a sudden they don't have... It's extremely cold in the winter in Lithuania. It's extremely dark. And you have an older generation who's now living without heat. They're cold because their pension doesn't pay for them to get enough heat, and so then they don't get enough food. And during communism, they did have these things, even though
So they had higher pensions and
yes, and everyone under communism is treated somewhat equally, though there's, of course, a limited amount of rights. So overall, I think all of Eastern Europe will succeed. It'll just take a long time. You can't overcome 50 years of communism in
No.
a short period of time.
And so, what were you asked to do when you were there? Why was the Peace Corps needed? Why you, in specific?
The main purpose of the Peace Corps to be over in Lithuania is for economical reasons. So we had nonprofit organizations. Special Olympics was started, a lot of women's groups to try and equal out the rights between men and women in Lithuania. Small businesses. We had consultants who went in and were doing small business. Myself personally, I lived in a town and I was teaching English as well as doing development work, raising money for books, teaching the children how to run businesses. I taught my children, who I taught in the school, I taught 10th grade through 12th grade. I actually taught them how to write up a business proposal, how to succeed in those kinds of things. In addition, I tried to just encourage them and show them that their perceptions of how the United States is not always correct, and some of the ideas that they have in their heads due to the Russians is also not always correct.
Okay, so if you have any ideas about that, the listeners, give us a call at 916-456-5199 and talk to Shannon and talk here with Dr. Frank, and we could have a good discussion on that. So, would you consider it propaganda that you were giving, or do you feel strongly about the economic system and how capitalism works, or how does that fit for you? This is personal. She's not representing the Peace Corps. She just happens to have been there.
I would say that I don't necessarily agree with the complete idea of the capitalism, because now a lot of things have been introduced to Lithuania that weren't there. They're starting to have drug problems. They're starting to have other problems that weren't there during communist times. But at the same time, I definitely agree with the fact that it is a democracy, because these people have the right to be able to practice the religion they want, to say things that they want to say, to go and just buy things that they choose and want to buy, and not to have the government repressing them all the time.
Good. So give us a call at 916-456-5199, and we really would love to hear from you. And so, Dr. Long, how about you for yourself in terms of seeing how governments work, and how does that feel for you, being an American in a foreign country?
Well, you soon realize that anywhere you go, politics and power and money are what dominate everything. And there are a few who have it and the rest don't, and they try to keep it. And so as working with the Costa Rican Indians, that was something that actually the only way we could get things done is by embarrassing them internationally and showing them with documentation that these patients are here and these people need help, and they're not providing it as they brag they are with their Social Security system. So that was one thing that was the long-lasting effects that we chose to do, besides the short-term effects of being there and helping them with the diseases we saw. A lot of leishmaniasis.
What is that?
It's a parasite that's transmitted by a sandfly that gets into your skin and causes a terrible eating away disease. It doesn't hurt, and a lot of patients won't go and have anything done about it because it's mostly cosmetic until it starts going through your entire body and your nose falls off, and you have tremendous problems.
A little like leprosy?
Similar. Starts out with a small lesion, especially the type that's in Costa Rica, and not terribly easily treated, but it can be treated, and now is.
Is that dangerous for Americans or other people to come into Costa Rica?
Yeah. Several expatriates I heard of coming back from that same area had leishmaniasis. It creeps out 2 months later, so
Whoa.
you don't know.
Is it catchy to those of us who know?
No. There's no sandflies. You can't get it.
Well, great. So we're going to take a break right now. We'll be back in just a few minutes with Dr. Long and Shannon Thomas.
Don't touch that dial. You're listening to the voice.
Listen to America Today on The Voice every Wednesday evenings from 8 to 10. Is the UN good for Americans? What's behind free trade? Where is our culture going? And are we a free people? And what is freedom? Where is America headed? We'll answer these questions from a different perspective. So open your mind and listen to America Today, Wednesday evenings 8 to 10 on The Voice.
Would you like to hear some nice music? Music that's positive, uplifting, and unique? Well, then tune into The Haven, where you'll hear the best of inspirational music. The Haven, where the message is the music, and the music is the message.
That's The Haven with Kevin Matlock, Thursday evenings and Friday mornings from 6 until 8 on Sacramento's Voice.
For over 35 years, Peace Corps volunteers have been solving problems around the world. Many continue their commitment to service right here at home. Meet Dr. Javad Mashkouri, a returned volunteer from Mali, West Africa, who is now making a difference in his community.
I joined the Peace Corps because it gave me an opportunity to do something worthwhile in a place that was much different than the place that I grew up and knew. When I got to Mali, it blew me away. My job was to train local masons and well diggers to construct safe drinking water wells. Peace Corps showed me what happens when you don't have access to health care. We were providing clean water, which to everyone there is health, and we try to do the same thing here by providing health care. I'd recommend the Peace Corps to anyone that was thinking about any job. It's given me more self-confidence in dealing with patients and other people. And I think in Peace Corps you learn the value of service. You're going to want to be in a position to give service back.
Peace Corps volunteers, changing the world, changing America. Make a difference. Call 800-424-8580. Peace Corps, the toughest job you'll ever love.
Hey, is that Freedom Rock I'm hearing?
No, man.
Well, turn it up anyway.
Hey, it sounds like that community radio station.
That's the community radio station where anyone can do their own radio show.
No way.
Way. Just call Access Sacramento at 456-8600. They have training classes to teach you all about community radio broadcasting.
Wow, man. Sounds really cool.
Yeah, I'm headed down there right now for my radio training class.
No way. I'm coming too.
That's right. Now you can take advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to grab hold of that microphone and make your radio dreams come true. Access Sacramento radio training classes are offered by appointment and cost $15. And if you act now, you get the super psychedelic sounds of the 70s music bed absolutely free. The number to call is 456-8600. Answering machines are standing by.
You're listening to The Voice 91.5.
Okay, we're back on Action Callers, and you can reach us at 916-456-5199, and you can talk with Dr. Thomas. No, I got the names mixed up with Dr. Frank Wong, who is a medical doctor who's gone into Central America and South America and lived with people in a whole different culture. And we also have Shannon Thomas, who's just returned, I think, in August or something?
September.
In September from the Peace Corps in Lithuania. And so we have some very different cultures that they have to talk about. And I wanted to ask Shannon, I've noticed when I've come back from trips, I begin to notice things that I didn't notice in my own culture, because when I'm a fish and I'm in water, I don't think I need water. I don't even know I'm in water. But if I jump out of my fish pond, all of a sudden I notice I need water. Mm-hmm. And vice versa, when I go up in the air, I notice I need oxygen, which I never noticed before. So what have you noticed coming back to the culture that you grew up in that needs to be done, or that you find that you want to do something about it, or that you see some things that people here, neighbors of yours, might get involved in?
I think probably my biggest frustration when I came back is just when I was in Lithuania, I saw people who are they live in apartments, they have things, but you have maybe a family of 7 living in a 2-bedroom apartment. and they function well. They work well as a family unit, and in turn the schools work very well. And when I came back, I noticed that just so many people in the United States spend so much time just working in order to provide things for their family that they sometimes forget to provide the most important thing, which can just be just a family unity and a connection, and showing your children and other people how valuable volunteer work is, as well as just your values and your ethics. And I think it's good to have some of these things that we do have in the United States, and I'm glad to be from the United States, but at the same time, there's so much that can come from just volunteering that you can't get out of driving the best car or having all of these material things, that you end up working maybe so many hours during the week just to have these things, and then do you ever really get to enjoy the material things that you have because you're constantly working?
Never
and I
home
just noticed
to sit on that comfortable couch you put in your living room. Yeah, give us a call at 916-546-5199. And did I say it right? 456-5199. Give us a call and let us know what you're thinking about some of the things that Dr. Frank and Shannon are having to say here today. Yeah. So do you have an idea how you would maybe do your family different than you might have before if you had a family and had kids, what you would do a little different than what you see maybe some of your friends who didn't leave this country and who have used those 2 years to buy a house and those kinds of things?
I think personally I would basically do as my parents did, just really encourage my children to start volunteering and doing things.
For other people?
For other people when they're young. And I think when you're young, you start realizing the satisfaction you can get out of it.
Yeah, like what kind of satisfaction? What kind of satisfaction do you get?
Just, I don't know, sometimes when I was teaching, I think the greatest thing that I actually did when I was in the Peace Corps are just the relationships that I made. I was there for 2 years, and people truly said what we thought of Americans was not right. And we see you, and we see that you're such a giving person, and you're willing to give and help people. And they said, and we were just surprised because we just assume most Americans are out there to just make money, and they realize that they can also give back and do those kinds of things. And I think that satisfaction of knowing that there's people just thousands of miles away from here who truly who appreciate me, and they also in turn appreciate the United States more.
That's great. Yeah. And how about for you, Dr. Frank?
I have to give that same sentiment. I was just thinking about how to describe that feeling that you have. It was like when I was there, you're breathing pure oxygen. It's sort of a high, and you're on fire, and it's just a wonderful thing. And you may be tired, you may be sweaty, you may be grimy, and all the comforts are all gone, but you just have a much more tranquil heart and soul. And then when you come back, that, I don't know, it leaves a glow in your soul. And when I think about working with the Yanomama in Amazon, it's one of those things. It was a very life-changing experience. It was more like a bonfire for me. A lot of my ideas and preconceptions were just ignited and burned to nothing. But
like
there's still...
Can you be a little bit specific? That would be really neat if you can put it into words.
45 minutes? No. It was definitely a heart-changing and definitely mind-changing experience, because I went there, with this kind of surreal fantasy of, living with and being with a jungle tribe of people in the rainforest, primeval, just one with the earth and all these things. And I was going into this knowing that, we really should leave these people as they are, let them keep surviving as they are, and not entrap them into our materialistic ideas. And, what they really need is mostly medicine and medical care. If we can get that to them and leave their culture alone, it would be best. But as I found that sometimes, cultures die off for a reason. And I hate to say that, but when cruelty and vicious violence is the mainstay, which I found with the Yanomama, it was horrifying.
You mean that they are vicious and violent?
Can be.
Definitely. Okay, we're going to need to take a break for a few minutes, and This is 916, and you can call us and get started at 916-456-5199, and get back together with Dr. I get all these Thomases and Joneses and Frank.
The Voice is KYDS 91.5 FM, Sacramento.
And here we are, back on the show. That was a 10-second one. I wasn't supposed to say anything. Go ahead, Dr. Frank.
The Yanomama described themselves as a fierce people, and truly everything in their culture revolved around violence. The reason they have a feast or a festival is preparation to go and kill someone from another village. When you hear someone brag about having taken the wife they were tired of and taking her out in the woods and hacking her up with a machete, or you see someone who has scars all over themselves because their parents decided they didn't want them and tried to just dump them off and were half mangled by an animal, or you hear about a child or another lady who had tuberculosis very bad, and so the husband drug her out into the woods and left her, and the missionaries I was working with found her and brought her in and gave her treatment, and then when she was healthy again, he came back to reclaim her, and she didn't want to go with him. And there was almost a fight, and
did she go?
No, she didn't.
She had the protection of
the missionaries, partly because, not that the missionaries have any power at all themselves, except for one, Gary Dawson, who's been living there all of his life. He's in his early 40s. He grew up with the Yanomami. His dad was the original missionary that ever went there with the Baptist church. And there were a lot of things, like, oh, gee, you're going to go in and try to make these people something they're not. How are you going to make them dress, make them do this, make them do that? And what I found was that the people actually wanted clothes because it kept the bugs off of them. And, it didn't have the same thing that we think of, with wearing clothes for moral reasons or not. And that was evident because one lady sitting in church just pulled her shirt all the way up to the top and fanned herself under her breasts. And it wasn't there for modesty, that's for sure. But it was definitely something where you saw that they knew that there was something better than what they had, than being eaten up by bugs and having diseases just devastate their lives. And especially since falciparum malaria that's resistant to chloroquine came through about 15, 20 years ago, their populations have really been decimated. And now violence cannot be a part of their normal culture, which kept their population at bay, because the malaria is killing them off so quickly that without treatment, they will be extinct. And if it wasn't for the missionaries being there, in many ways, I think the populations would be much less than they are now.
Okay, give us a call and talk to Dr. Long about that. I find it fascinating. Call us at 916-456-5199. And it reminds me, I recently finished reading the book Testament by, who was it that wrote that? Grisham? I think John Grisham, about a doctor who went to in the Amazon, and they and worked, and it was a woman doctor who was down there, and it's about her and what happens to him and the whole thing. I thought, have you read it?
No, not yet.
Yeah, it's one of those bestsellers, and I found it fascinating because as I say, I've always been interested in that. And we have a caller right now, and that's Steve. And Steve, let's see if we can hear you in here. This is kind of new for all of us, so if you can speak up and see if I've got your voice.
Hello, Reva?
Yeah.
This is a call for Shannon.
Okay.
I have a couple questions about the Peace Corps.
Okay.
First one is, what ages is the Peace Corps looking for volunteers? And the second one has to do with what medical benefits are available while one is overseas.
Okay, the answer to the first question, our youngest volunteer was 22, and our oldest volunteer was 76.
Did you have to be 22, or could you be 21?
You have to have a college degree. So you have to have a degree, so most people graduate. I guess if you can really get through quickly, you could get through it by 21 and go in.
So you have to have a bachelor's degree?
Yes, you do.
And how about seniors?
Sometimes just based on the experience. Maybe if you don't have a degree, based on your years of experience, if you worked with a nonprofit organization, you also could
Could come
get
in?
accepted, yes.
How old would you, what are the oldest people that have?
Honestly, our oldest volunteer was 76, and I think that was the oldest volunteer to be in the Peace Corps. As long as you're medically and healthy and you can be over in the Peace Corps will accept you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And but do the seniors also have to have had a college education?
It depends if they have enough experience, which they are going to, and in the field that's needed, then the college education isn't as important. And as far as the medical benefits, the Peace Corps they're very good at taking care of their volunteers. Each country has a nurse practitioner, and also each country is within close enough distance that they can get you medical care if you're in need of it, and they will cover everything while you are in the Peace Corps, any costs.
And then trips back in case you get sick, they pay your way back?
Yes.
And how about pay?
You get paid the same as the locals, same as Lithuanians, for instance, where I was. You get very similar pay so that you live at the same life.
And so
standard.
you have to use your pay to for rent and things like that?
You use your pay for rent, you use your pay for food, you use your pay to live for everything.
Steve, did you have another question?
I think that answered my question. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. I had heard in years back that that people got some money, but then there was some money put aside for them for when they got out. Is that no longer true?
No, it is still true. When you finish the Peace Corps, you are given around, I believe, a little over $5,000.
For the 2 years?
For the 2 years of service. So you're given $200, for every month you serve, you're given $200 that's put in to a separate account for you. If you want it to go towards maybe paying off your college loans or something, you can, or you can just collect it in lump sum at the end of your 2 years.
Is it possible to get some of your loans done away with as a result of having worked for the Peace Corps?
The only thing you can do is get them deferred for the 2 years that you're gone, and then they're your responsibility again after 2 years. So you got to get a job quick.
Good. So if any of you have any questions or comments or projects that you think you might want to do, give us a call here at 916-456-5199. And I see that Dr. Frank had something he'd like to say.
I was interested in the Peace Corps also.
Yeah,
because
me
I still
too.
want to, move on and get out. But right now, financially, it's a little difficult to pay off my $120,000 in debt for medical school.
They'll defer those loans.
Oh, boy. Still be waiting for me, though, huh? I can't just skip the country and stay. But I have heard that they do use medical personnel as physicians in different areas for training and other things. Is that
You can be
also
hired
possible?
and get a regular salary.
Actually, to tell you the truth, that's really a really good deal because you can get a good salary and live overseas and be the doctor for the actual Peace Corps volunteers. And then you get a United States salary and you live in a third world country, so you're paying really cheap prices.
Are they down in the Amazon?
I do not know. You could check that out.
Where do you want to go next, Dr. Tom? Frank? Harry? Little ADD, what can I say?
I haven't decided yet. Speaking with our engineer, maybe Africa.
Go climb some of the mountains?
Yeah, that would be great. Or even just
talk with the elephants?
Do the elephant walk. No, I definitely am going back to South America at some point, and to Tonga and Fiji. Tonga is probably my favorite place to ever go. Most wonderful people I've ever met.
When you go to all these different places that you've gone to, who finances you on that?
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
So you're just a plain old volunteer without any money or any Peace Corps or anything like that. So you finance yourself. Now, you want to tell what you're a doctor, but you don't work permanently anywhere here. Maybe you want to talk about that. So maybe other doctors are listening and they might want to do it.
Well, I do what's called locum tenens. It's just Latin for a temporary worker. And
So you're a temp.
Yeah, I'm a temp. And basically what happens, no clinic will let a doctor go away for 2 months because you'll lose your practice. So what happens is I just change jobs. It makes it easier and have short-term contracts.
Okay, so you take 2 months.
And then in between jobs, I'll take my trips.
Well, that's very good. And we're going to take a little break right now, and we'll be back in just a few moments.
Sacramento's Community Radio, The Voice. Now you can listen longer. Access Sacramento expands its worldwide internet service. Point your web browser to www.sacramento.org. Access our rural audio feed now from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday Pacific Coast time. Brought to you in part by Sacramento Network Access and the Access Sacramento Media Lab. For more information, call area code 916-456-8600. Internet radio from Access Sacramento, making a difference one voice at a time.
Let me tell you a story about the Cable Foundation. It's not just a place, just for fun and recreation, but you learn neat things about cable TV. And for radio, that's the place to be. You get hands-on instruction each and every class. And if you're there every time, yes, I know that you will pass it. Because there's things you ought to know to produce your own show. And if you're like me, that ought to be your goal. That's right, the Sacramento Cable Foundation, a non-profit organization. If you'd like more information on class schedules and training, just dial 456-8600. Sacramento Cable Foundation, where dreams come true.
Community Radio for Sacramento, The Voice.
Okay, and now we're back on Action Callers, and we have with us Dr. Frank Long and Shannon Thomas from the Peace Corps. And I want to give you the recruitment number in case you want to join the Peace Corps. You could call 1-800-424-5580. And you can also, on your website, you can look them up on www.peacecorps.gov, G-O-V. And they'll be very happy to hear from you. And I think Shannon was going to tell us something kind of interesting that we were talking about during the break.
I was just saying that sometimes it can be a little bit challenging to actually get through the process of being accepted to the Peace Corps. It took me about a year to go through all my clearances. And
what kind of clearances do you need?
You have to go through a medical clearance, full physical. You also have to go through, get your fingerprints, and the FBI makes sure that you haven't done anything criminal. Mm-hmm. They also...
Can you have been on a picket line or,
They're gonna look at basically your history and make sure that everything's basically in the clear. They also... The interview can be pretty extensive. Some people, the interview wasn't as extensive. If you're in any type of relationship, they're going to make sure that if you leave the person that you are dating, that you're not going to end up leaving the Peace Corps to return to them, and that does happen. We had a group of 24 volunteers who went over with me, and at the end of 2 years, we actually had 14 volunteers who finished the whole 2 years.
Is that kind of the average?
Yeah, that's pretty much the average. We actually had a really high...
What's your guess around that? Why so many maybe
We
left?
actually, in our group, had some problems. We had some few volunteers who had deaths in their family, and they felt they needed to return to assist their family. We had a few people some older volunteers. One man found out that he had cancer, so he left. The woman he was seeing when he met over there, she left with him to support him. And then a few people just it's hard to live in a country for 2 years. It's very challenging. And
do you get vacations to come back during the 2 years, or you
have to pay for it yourself, and when you're only making what the local people make, unless your family's willing to help you. I didn't come home for the whole 2 years. I stayed the whole time.
And did you learn Lithuanian?
Yes. I can speak Lithuanian now.
Say something to us in Lithuanian.
Ar nori kalbėti lietuviškai?
Ooh, I'm very impressed. What does that mean?
Would you like to speak Lithuanian?
Okay. So I notice Dr. Frank here has some interesting item right in front of him. It looks like made out of bamboo or something like that. And it's nothing that I've seen at the local Zodi's, or no, not Zodi's, but Pier 1 and that kind of place. So, but it looks like it belongs there. What are those?
This is a Yanomama carrying case for carrying their sharp arrowheads when they're traveling through the jungle. They just sling it around their neck and carry it with them. The Yanomama are about 5 feet tall. They're not very big people. And they carry bows and arrows that are about 7 feet long.
Whoa.
And they can shoot a toucan, which isn't a very large bird, up 80 feet up in a tree.
Wow.
Incredible marksmen. I mean, they have to, this is what they eat, so.
They got good eyes, huh?
Yeah.
Do any of them, do you give glasses to any of them?
Yeah.
I don't see any on their pictures here.
There had been a medical team down there trying to give glasses, but they just weren't accustomed to them. They just lost them. And so it wasn't much of a use. But those are grown men.
They look like maybe 9, 10-year-old boys.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what would happen is with the arrows, they have curare, which they use, that obviously when it gets into the bloodstream will paralyze the animal. And then they also have another drug called yopa, and it's called a bene, that causes, it's hallucinogenic that they use also, and that will also cause a slower paralysis. So for monkeys in particular, when they're hunting them, it will cause them to loosen up and fall out of the tree instead of hanging on to the tree if they shot them with a regular arrow.
Well, that's pretty smart of them to figure that out.
Yeah.
If you want to learn more about bow and arrows and sharp things, give us a call at 916-456-5199. And so did you feel that you made an impact when you were there in the Amazon? Besides having a great experience and learning a lot, did you feel that you gave them something?
Yes and no. While I was there, I sure didn't feel it. It was one of the first volunteer trips that I've taken where I didn't feel an ounce of appreciation from the people. Matter of fact, there was almost the opposite. And for example, there was a baby that had 106 fever at 1 month old and eventually ended up dying. We don't know actually if it died or if it was killed by the grandparents, because a lot of times if a baby doesn't seem healthy, instead of burdening the village with it, they'll just dispose of it. And the baby had gotten better with the treatments, and then after about a week of being home, found out that it was dead, and they didn't explain why. But that same family, the uncle had come into the clinic and for his little girl to be seen, and I saw her and treated her, and then he needed something and treated him, and then he said something to the missionary, and I said, "What did he say?" And she goes, "You really want me to translate?" I'm like, "Sure," you know. And so he says, "Does this guy really know what he's doing? Because if he doesn't, I'm going to run him out of here in the next plane. He may be bigger than me, but I'll get him."
Lucky he said that rather than a bow and arrow.
You know, as here I thought, oh, this guy's so appreciative. He wants to thank me for all the things that I've done for him and his family and yada yada. And the exact opposite came out of his mouth. And the Yanomama are very different people because they pride themselves on being fierce. And so they have no word for hello or goodbye. They have no word for thank you. They have no word for gift or free. They just don't even have those words. Or compassion. And what...
Or money, huh?
No, or money. And money really means nothing to them. You know, meat is their commodity, and women. And
they eat the women?
No. Very good studies were actually done by Napoleon Chagnon, sort of refuting a lot of beliefs in anthropology that, you know, it's mostly just necessities and goods and land that people fight for. Whereas he found with the Yanomama, it was mostly women. So someone will go over to a nearby village, steal the woman away, and then the others will come back to take her back because it may have been the wife of somebody even. And it'll start this war, and someone gets killed, and then, of course, they have to have a revenge killing, and they go back and kill somebody else, and it just keeps going. But it gets even more complicated with the Yanomama because they're spiritual beliefs. A lot of times the shaman will, when someone's dying or sick, or especially a baby that dies, they'll ask, well, why did the baby die? And he'll say, well, it was a spirit sent over from the shaman from that other village to kill the baby, and that's why the baby died. And so they need to go and revenge kill in that village. So they'll go over and kill someone there. And the violence that goes on and the quest for women is so dominant. It's basically like a mentality of a bunch of 13 or 14-year-olds let loose with no laws or regulation. And there is no rule except for might.
I wonder if I'd want to go there. How about you, Shannon?
Well, it's something that we're completely out of their system. And if they do consider anything with us, they basically think that we come from a very, very large tribe, and we might come back for a revenge killing if they do anything to us.
Oh, okay.
So they do know that we're from a bigger system than they are. But that's about it.
Well, gee, listen, I just want to thank the two of you for coming here today and leaving your practice and leaving. You have a big job here in this country right now, working with kids in a halfway house, and I know that to be even harder than teaching first graders to read, which I did in another lifetime. And so I really want to thank you, Shannon, and I want to thank you, Frank. I feel I can call you Frank right now.
That's fine.
And Dr. Frank Long. And how might people get hold of you, Frank, if they needed to?
Through you.
Oh, okay. Well, call me at 916. Everybody together now. 456-5199. And Shannon, thank you so much. And what I'd like to do now is acknowledge our volunteers who have been working on our program here. Like myself, we're all volunteers, and we have Steve Baylog and Michael Geller are our volunteer engineers. And third is our telephone greeter, Diane Matar, who just got back from volunteering her skills in far-off India. And we'll have to have her on the program someday to tell us about her time in India. I also did some volunteering there a few years ago, and it was a marvelous experience for me, and I did get more than I gave. But it was so wonderful having people just, it's like the brain, like the brains are in their heart, and the heart opens up and everything goes in. Anything I had to teach seemed to just go in, and people started using it right away. And that was for a teacher like myself and a counselor, that's what we want, is to be of service to people. And our newest volunteer is Donna Reynolds, who called us a few weeks ago to volunteer to build and manage our web page and our email site. And so our new email site is actioncallers, with an S on the end, at hotmail.com. I like that number, Hotmail. Yeah, actioncallers at hotmail.com. And within this time, much of the web page is completed, and by next week we'll probably be up and ready for you, our Action listeners. And I'd like to give you our new web page number, which is also kind of an interesting number. Where did it go? I think it's right here at the end of my thing here. Let me find that. Well, yeah, my paper. Aha, here it is. www.redrival, REDRIVAL. I think we got it out of probably came out of a lottery or something. I don't know where it came from. redrival.com//actioncallers/. Again, www.redrival.com/actioncallers. And go to that page there. I think you can find it there. The questionnaires, I don't think are complete yet, but you can start to get used to reaching us that way and finding out more about guests that are going to be coming on. And this is the State of an Art program. We got email, and we've got television. We got the radio, and this studio here also has a television studio. If anybody wants to learn how to do television shows or learn how to do engineering or have your own radio program, you can do that by calling the number I've been giving you all afternoon, 916-456-5199, and find out how to do it yourself. Another way of making change in the community. So I want to thank again Dr. Frank Long and Sharon Thomas for your ongoing